fine.
Don't count that high. I don't have my shoes off. All right. So, welcome back to another episode. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just three nerdy veterans geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies, a place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. So without further ado, let's jump right into this. As you noticed, there's actually three Army veterans here today because we smuggled Nick out of his side gig, selling himself on the... Well, you know what? I signed the NDA.
I'm taking a break from my OnlyFans for a little bit so I can recuperate.
I forgot about the NDA. I apologize. Please don't sue me, and we'll just jump right into this episode. All right, so this is where we get to introduce you to Charlie McElvy, otherwise known as Spider Squirrel. How you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm great. How are you guys?
Doing good. Usual shenanigans, so, all is well. I think they're sober this time, so it's good.
I actually am. I can confess to that, but I don't know that I will be much longer. So it depends on how long we go.
You know what?
Spoken like a true comic creator.
Take place in booths is my understanding. At least that's what my Catholic mother told me.
Comics take place where?
No, confessions take place in booths.
Yes, they do.
I think confessions take place in bottles, but that works fine. Either way.
I mean,
I think bottles are definitely attached somehow to that.
Absolutely. So, Charlie, can you introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers who might not know who you are?
Sure. Charlie McElvy. I don't know what part matters the most to anybody. I guess we're talking sci-fi and comic books and stuff like that. I wrote The Watchguard back in 7 years ago, as well as the Watchguard source book, which is an RPG supplement for Mutants and Masterminds. It was an Emmy nominated and an award-winning supplement, which I was really proud of. It was my first supplement. And consequently, I've written dozens and dozens for myself on RPG Now. Now it's Drive-Thru RPG. There we are. So right now, I'm actually working on Spider Squirrel, which is kind of an offshoot of Watchguard and Team Force 5. And got a whole bunch of stuff out there. I'm also dad of 7. You'll hear them stomping above my head here in a minute. And husband of 1, as far as we both know. And... I have no idea what I do when I get drunk. But anyway.
I think the audience knows. The children that may be why you have 7 kids.
Yes, well, hey. So I guess we'll stop right there. Otherwise, we're going to go down into the R-rated territory. So that's me in a nutshell. I can
you were the first time.
What's that?
You wouldn't be the first time we went down R-rated territory. Last time it was an Air Force pilot, so in our defense, she started.
Well, they're probably trying to justify their job, but
Yeah. So you were basically the living embodiment of that meme. Grandma and Grandpa, what did you do before you had the internet? I don't know. Go ask your 12 brothers and sisters.
Ding, ding, ding.
All right. So the second part of the introduction, dear listener and viewer, because we haven't forgotten you guys over on the YouTubes, is how we first found them. So I actually found him when we were on a podcast together on the BAMF podcast with Mike Lafferty of Fainting Goat Games and Walt Robillard. I probably butchered his name, but he never says it right either. So I got that going for me. And
it was a little more Italian accent.
You anyways.
Grandpa Walt, is that what you call him? Ooh,
yes, that's what I call Walt. Grandpa Walt's just going to fuss at you anyways.
Oh, man, now you know what's me. He never goes to you. He goes to me and JR.
That's why I said he's going to fuss at you, not me.
I'll just get a gift from Walt of him just shaking his head with a little caption.
Yeah, they've actually made some gifs of him in the Galaxy's Edge Discord. So we were on the podcast together, and I'm like, this is my chance to upstage Ranger Nick, the comic book guy, by finding the comic book guest to show up first. He was not pleased with me, by the way. There might or might not be a hit team coming after me at this point.
I am the hit team.
So, Doc, how'd you first find Charlie? Was it because I told you to show up?
You said there's this guy named Spider Squirrel, and I went, that sounds fun.
All right. Now, Nick, I understand you probably, because, this is your ballywick, you might have a different answer. So how did you first hear of or meet Charlie?
I just friended him not too long ago, but we travel in the same circles, and I've seen his name in a lot of the same groups that we belong to. And I've been familiar with Spider Squirrel since he started promoting it. I was like, oh, man, that actually looks pretty cool. I got to get on that. So, that's how I know Charlie.
All right, Charlie, this is the most important question you will be asked this entire interview, and there's no pressure, but you got to get it right or we kick you off, okay? So, what is your religion? Star Wars, Star Trek, or Firefly?
So
Bridge breaker.
I'm going to give you. I'll fill the podcast. I'll give you my life story answer. So I started out watching Star Trek on CBS, but my earliest memory is actually Star Wars in 1977 in the theater, and I vaguely remembered it through mostly dreams that I had as a young kid because I was like 2.5 when the movie came out. But my dad did take me to see Star Wars when it came out. Both my grandfathers and my dad were sci-fi guys. So, I'm not going to get into the argument of Star Trek versus Star Wars unless you ask a very specific question, like which one do you think is more entertaining for the casual audience or shit like that. But otherwise, I go both ways. So how about that? Actually, I swing 3-way because I'll do Firefly all day too. I'm kind of a whore that way.
Yeah,
There's nothing wrong with being a sci-fi horror or a fantasy horror.
Exactly.
So, well, that's how we got you 7 kids. So, it happens. And because we're polytheistic here, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, or the Potterverse?
Well, considering I've only watched 1 episode of Game of Thrones ever, that one's out. Lord of the Rings is entertaining the first time through, but honestly, it's a sleep fest every time afterwards for me. So Potterverse.
Okay. So you weren't as thrilled about
half the damn audience, but there you go. But
so you didn't sound as thrilled about Potterverse. So if you had to pick an iconic fantasy franchise other than those 3, what would you pick?
Oh Jesus. I think the only reason I think I went down on Potterverse is because I felt like it was the last gasp, but I really enjoyed the heck out of it. Like my whole family, we'll watch them all together, and my teenagers watch with us, and it's actually really entertaining. Much to my surprise, because I avoided Harry Potter for a while. I was like, F this, it's some kid stuff, I don't care. And then finally watched the movies and found myself wanting to watch the next one. So.
Well, I mean, I guess I'm the weirdo because I've never seen the Harry Potter movies or read the books.
Have you seen Star Wars?
I have.
All right, cool. Harry Potter is Star Wars with shitty lightsabers.
That's a good description. There you go.
All right, Doc, the next question is yours. Save us from ourselves.
Okay.
Or from me. I mean.
No, you're good. Ourselves are much more dangerous. We've been taught to be armed. So which was your first love? Sci-fi or fantasy?
Sci-fi. Yeah, definitely sci-fi. But, dude, the Rankin Bass Hobbit cartoon, holy shit. That I wore that VHS out. My dad went and bought another one. I wore that one out. I could watch that, sing every freaking song, and greatest adventure. I mean, it was just like my thing. So sci-fi was the first, for sure. But, yeah, I love fantasy, too.
If you watch that Hobbit... Doc, hold on. If you watched that Hobbit cartoon, did you also watch The Last Unicorn that came out around the same time?
I did. Oh my God. Unicorn! Yes, that was me. I watched that over and over again too, and I can't believe it. And I watched it recently and I was like, yeah, why did I like this? But it
did not hold up well as you got older and went back to it. Some do, that one did not.
It's kind of like the Transformers cartoon movie.
Stop! I love these movies.
Hold on, I still cry at Prime's death.
Oh yeah, when Prime dies, yeah, but everything in between was like it was completely influenced by the 80s and MTV because it was just a rock video with action and then something emotional. Rock video with action. Like I couldn't even tell you how it ended.
If you're going to spoil 20-year-old movies, you have to let me hit the spoiler button.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. No, you don't have to because I'm just going to tell the fans right now. If you've not seen that and it's 20 years old, actually it's older than that because it came out in 1985.
If you've ever
not sorry. I hope I spoiled it for you. And see me next week. Send all your hate mail to JR Handley.
All right, Doc has some.
Ever met Flint Dille? He will who wrote the screenplay for it. He will tell you he is the man who made a generation cry, and he tells you this with great pride and joy.
Did you ask him how high he was when he wrote it?
I did not.
I'm just saying there was lots of nose candy involved in that era. All right, Doc. Next question is yours.
Transform and roll out.
Okay. is your favorite thing about speculative fiction as a genre?
My favorite thing about speculative fiction. I think my favorite thing is you have a chance to do really whatever the hell you want, right? So, I mean, if you're going sci-fi specifically, then the idea that you can explain things that are inexplicable, right? Or take the nonsense and make sense of it. I love that about sci-fi and fantasy. Not any differently. It's just a different. Well, to arrange your next point, it's basically a lightsaber turned into a wand, right? So, I mean, you take it's got the same benefits to it. I think fantasy tends to border on more of the primal kind of, or more, hate saying earthy, but I mean, really, it feels kind of more down to earth in a sense, because magic explains anything, whereas sci-fi almost has to have a feel to it with respects to the technology and shit around you. So, I like them both for the same reason. I think it's just because you can do really whatever you want. And it makes sense for some reason. So disbelief kind of comes with the territory.
Right. So I got to ask, why Spider Squirrel? I've heard you called that, as well as apparently it is your comic. So, like, what's the story? What's the sitch?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't think I'll ever get tired of telling this story because it's great because it really has everything and nothing to do about me. So, where to start? So about 2013, I was playing on a competitive flag football team, and we just won our second championship. We're all excited, and the quarterback comes to me and says, "Hey, dude, you want to go run a Tough Mudder?" And I was like, "What the hell's a Tough Mudder?" He's like, "It's like this mud thing." I was like, "All right, let's go do it. Whatever."
Sounds dirty. I'm in.
That's how I am. I mean, like, I'm that guy. It's like, "Hey, you want to go do this? What is it? Sounds stupid. Let's do it." So we started doing that, and ours got canceled. That doesn't really matter. What matters is I was hooked. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. And met up with a dude named Johnny Hates Sales. John, Army guy. I love the dude. He became my personal trainer, and I ran like a shitload of Spartan races and Savage races and all these obstacle course races. In fact, I ran over 100 events in 1 year, just being because I was an idiot, and got a Men's Health magazine, all this other stuff. It was a lot of fun. But I wanted to train in the winter, and at the time, there was nothing in the winter. All the events ended in October. There was nothing from October or really November till April. So there was like this big off season, and I didn't want to lose my skills. I was like, this is cool. I'm getting paid to run. I'm doing commercials. This is all fun. So I want to keep it going. And I found a parkour gym. Well, fast forward about a year and a half, I'm training in the gym, and there's these two 11-year-olds, and they're like arguing while I'm bouncing around the studio. And I was actually filming, or I was sequencing what was going to be filmed for my first American Ninja Warrior submission video, because I was determined to get on the show. And so I'm bouncing around, I'm doing all this stuff, and they're arguing. I was listening to them. And Alex, so they're both named Alex, so I'll refer to them by their last names. Actually, I don't know if their parents will approve of that. So let me do this way. Alex 1 goes, look at him. He's bouncing around the place like a squirrel, just not as annoying. Little does he know. and Alex 2 goes, no, look at his long arms and legs and stuff. He looks like a spider. Look at him climb. Look, look at that. It looks like a spider. Kind of creepy. And they kept arguing for like, I don't know how long. And I climbed down. I was like, guys, I got the answer. I'll just be the Spider Squirrel. And it just flew out of my mouth. And the very next week, I had somebody print up sweatpants with the logo that I made up real fast on the fly. And it was me. It became my persona for Ninja Warrior, which for season 10, they loved it. I was like, they were like, let's play this up. This is comic books and cool. And it just stuck. And throughout the period, I said I should really make this a comic book. And fast forward to today, we're on Kickstarter. So there you go.
That's how it's done.
By the way, Alex 2 is now my 16-year-old daughter's boyfriend. So.
Wow. Okay.
So do you need help hiding bodies? Asking for a friend.
No, I've got a pretty big backyard, and I've got some shovels. I can get through this Virginia clay pretty easy.
Strong acids.
I've got a lot of lime. It might,
Well, yes.
I've got friends with tacos.
That's a weak acid.
It is. So, it's a base,
I got friends
Anything
with
worth
backhoes,
doing is
rangers.
worth overdoing. So
I agree.
Rangers, Nick's got friends that can reach you and hug people from a distance. So I'm just saying,
come on,
we're
don't
here
put
for you,
that
brother.
out there. I'm gonna have, the FBI already looks at me. That's horrible.
We're talking about hugs here. What would the FBI think was
Doing
wrong?
those weird things on OnlyFans, they would stop looking at you.
This is also true.
Okay, what I do on my off time with the feet pics, do not judge. A boy's got to eat.
You're just on script, my dear.
All right, I was trying to. You guys keep throwing these curveballs at me, and I just go out of the park. Go Sox. And now shush. And now for the Blood Force segue. You're a comic book creator, which is awesome. We need more of those. How did your love of the sci-fi and fantasy genre transition into you writing comic books about it? Because let's face it, comics are stories in action that you can see and are less boring.
I mean, honestly, I think it goes back to the question really like about speculative fiction. Because, comics, literally can do anything because it's two-dimensional, it's paper, you write it, somebody draws it, and unless it requires some kind of animation for some reason, which I think the good artist can animate anything with still panels in a book. You can do whatever you want, right? So, yeah, so really the freedom is my favorite part. Is there's nothing that says this is the right book because it's all about the right book for the right person. People are going to read Spider Squirrel. They're going to hate it. People are going to read it, going to freaking love it. People are going to read it, going to be lukewarm on it. I don't care. What matters is, to me, the most is that I get the story out that I want to tell, and someone somewhere enjoyed it. So
exactly,
that's what I love about it. It's the same with any fiction, right? With any fiction. So
yeah, absolutely. You're 100% correct. You have a story to tell, and you put it out there, which a lot of people don't even do that. So. No. It's like how you can hate from outside the club, can't even get in.
They put it out there, just not always in the right format.
That's true too.
That's true because I've read a lot of novels that should have been comic books, and I've read a lot of comic books that should have been novels.
So that's a good segue, real quick. So what makes the distinction for you there, Nick, of something that should be a novel versus a comic, and vice versa?
Okay, I'll put it to you this way. Writers in the comic book medium have the hardest job, hands down, of any type of fiction writer. Okay, you have not a whole lot of space, so you can't use pillowy words, fluffy words to describe the scene. That's heavily relied upon the artist. So you have to get your point across with dialogue and very little of it. So I think being a comic book writer is probably harder than being, and JR is going to get hate mail for this because we always said it his way, than someone who writes novels. But there's things that are so grandiose as far as their idea, and unfortunately, they're probably already kind of pigeonholed themselves into a graphic novel, or they've pigeonholed themselves into actually writing a novel. So it's weird. There's a lot of things that could tip that scale, whether it should have been a graphic novel or a comic book, or it should have just been a straight novel. So I don't know if I'm making any sense yet.
No, I actually, so I think I'm pretty sure I agree with you 100% there, Nick. When you write a comic, it's finite, right? You've got, how many pages do you get? Well, it depends. If you're
22 to 68 to 100 something, depending on, graphic novel. Yeah, and budget too. Budget's huge.
Yeah, it's not cheap to do. So it's finite. You can only do so much in a single panel. So then but then a page only holds so many panels, and a panel only holds so many balloons. And you've just gotta think it and visualize it through. And I think I don't want to knock any other kind of writing at all, and I don't think you are either. But it is difficult because I know when I write a comic, I have to think about how the hell is this going to look, and I only see what I see. I have no idea what the artist is actually going to draw, because I'm not going to sit there and say, okay, you've got to do exactly this. Here's a sketch. Here's a thumbnail. I'll draw this exact thing. Maybe this in your right. You can't do that because then there's no collaboration, which is really what the medium is all about. So it's an ultimate collaborative medium.
I only own one comic, and it's the On Basilisk Station Honor Harrington comic.
Great. So now I got to send you a bunch of my stuff from Apple.
So I have the Ember Wars graphic novel that I backed the Kickstarter just because I wanted to see the art.
Oh, no. I do have one eventually that will come. I backed the Black Tide Rising comic.
Ooh.
But I don't know how to read comics.
Left to right.
Left to right.
Bottom.
Not the bottom.
Okay.
It's kind of like reading a book, but sexier.
Oh, I take that back. I own a second one. I own White Donkey, the Terminal Lance comic book.
That actually sounds good for me. I don't
It
know
was
what
written by a
What
veteran,
that's
so I supported it.
Look at Nick. Nick's having an aneurysm, guys, on screen.
Yeah,
Freaking
I was supposed to draw that book.
Were you really?
Yeah, I got beat up by somebody who was cheaper.
I haven't read it. I
It
haven't had
happens.
time, but I did.
I
buy
bought it myself. It's a good book, but a
I don't know.
little bittersweet. I'm laughing and crying at the same time at some of the stuff. I'm like, I would have drawn that in a totally different way.
It's okay.
You need a moment.
Draw me a new comic.
No, I got whiskey. We're good.
Oh,
All right.
Everything's better.
That's
now.
always my answer to Nick. Go draw me a comic.
All right. Number 11 is next. Let's get us back on track.
That's
We're
Nick's
never
job.
on track. You're the Pepper Potts to our Tony Stark.
and you're talking to a squirrel, for God's sakes. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and I have a very short attention
No,
span. So.
and the funny thing is, he's the brain damaged one.
Me or him?
Me.
No, him.
Me. I got 27 concussions from IEDs when I was in Iraq.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, quit bragging, okay?
And he's the one who keeps the rest of us.
I mean,
I've got all
other
this
than
brain
the
damage,
IEDs
but I'm the smartest dude in the room. I got it.
So other than the IEDs, though, Nick, I did have a blast, so it's okay. We're not bragging.
We'll swap more stories off set. You jackass.
All right, number 11. Let's get back on track. We got this.
I was trying to go naturally, but now it feels forced, and I don't want to be
Don't
forced.
make me
But I'm
crack
gonna
the
do it
whip
anyway.
on you.
Don't threaten me with a good time. Anyway, number 11. Here we go. All right, so many creative types. You, me, these two. We let our own real life experiences influence the stories that we tell. So, were there any specific formidable moments that really shaped you as a storyteller and comic creator?
Yeah, really. It sounds shitty and trite, but life. I mean, I've tried to draw from. I've joked in other interview sessions that this book is kind of pseudo or quasi autobiographical in a lot of ways. I take little moments from my life and throw it in there. I think the biggest thing for me is that my parents introduced me to sci-fi, encouraged me to sci-fi down the sci-fi path as a kid. And I watch cartoons. I think all that stuff shaped me to some extent. But I really, if I look at Spider Squirrel specifically, for example, like that's a culmination of my love and passion for cartoons and sci-fi, just silly shenanigans and stuff that's just off the wall. Comic books, it's a love letter to comics too. But then the physical nature of the character, the last 15 years of my life or so has been dedicated to all kinds of sports and athletics and things. So that it's just there's no one answer to that, I guess. So I guess I get to drone on about how my life kind of all plays into this. There's even some ex-girlfriends in the book, for God's sakes.
Wow!
And they know about it. It's fun. It's just
even funnier if they didn't know about it.
Well, yeah, but we're still friends, so it's like, yeah. Because I was a nice jerk. Yeah. So I mean, there's just a little bit of everything, and I don't like pineapple on pizza. So pineapple on pizza is always a shenanigan going on in the background somewhere.
Pineapple goes on pizza, JR.
Wait, where's the kick?
Only with jalapenos. Only with jalapenos. That's the only combination where.
I love pizza. Neither of the twain shall meet. No.
All right, he stays. You both leave.
However,
I don't want to know what
good
you're
luck.
doing then.
Doc, Nick, we did pass a goal on my Kickstarter, and we had 200 backers, and now I have to consume on live stream and recorded a piece of pineapple pizza that is larger than my skull. So,
oh wow.
So
let me know when that happens. I'll order one. I'll eat it with you. You shouldn't do this alone.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate the support.
When is that going to go live?
But I'm going to put the jalapenos on mine because that's the only way you can have pineapple pizza.
I might ask. So my local pizzeria, they're all behind it. So I think I'll ask the guys over at Benny's to put some diced ham and some jalapenos in there. They'll help me out a little bit.
You need the salt content to match the sweet with the pineapple.
I like it.
The first time I had mushrooms, I had pineapple on pizza. I had mushrooms and onions with it.
You live in the land of the Mellow Mushroom Pizzeria.
I know. It's amazing.
I love that place, but I digress.
There's one less than a mile from my house. Come visit.
Okay.
I don't know where. Yeah, I don't know where Nick's at, but I'm closer, I think. And
You are closer. You're
just got one that
welcome.
opened up here downtown, and it's 4 miles from my house, dude.
I live in the Whale's Vagina, San Diego.
Yeah, I
There went the family-friendly rating. Way to go, Nick.
It's a movie reference.
You know what?
Anchorman.
It is an anatomically correct term.
Yeah. It's not like I said the C word or the P word.
All right, Doc.
Yeah.
That question is yours.
I'm so getting a call from Walt now.
Back to the podcast at hand.
This has always been a format of 4 geeks hanging out, talking shop.
When you show up. Otherwise, it's just 3. So
I haven't watched those episodes because I'm not in them.
Oh, they were pure radio gold, I swear.
oh my goodness. Anyways, transitioning back to the topic at hand. Have you had anybody ask you away from like a convention or a signing? Do they do book signings for comic artists?
They do.
Yes, they do.
I don't know.
That's what we brought you
We're
here
just as
for.
important as novel writers.
You are just as important,
With a tougher job, Nick said.
but I don't.
Right.
You know what? That's because Nick's self-aggrandizing.
That's what his
I'm
therapist
very
said. It doesn't mean it's true.
narcissistic, but I digress.
Anyways, I don't know. I didn't know any of them that came out in public. I don't see them at Dragon Con.
Because you don't go to the 4th floor where they hide us.
That's
not my fault.
Dragon Con, but maybe I was wrong. Anyway.
Yeah, they hide you on the 4th floor.
Just come to Dragon Con. Reach out. Talk to the track directors. Get on paneling, and then you can leave the 4th floor.
Oh, she's like, if you're a good boy, we'll let you out of the dungeon.
Thanks, Joe Biden.
You know what? It has a view. I'm not sure of what.
Can I celebrate 4th of July even though I haven't been vaccinated yet, or is that
Dude,
cut off?
Let's move on.
Anyway.
All right, Doc.
Anyways,
He's gonna get us
have you
banned
had
from
anybody
YouTube.
do any cool fan art or a cosplay of one of your characters? There we go. Or anybody ask you for your autograph out in the wild?
Yes. No cosplay yet, although I'd be totally honored. That's awesome. And in fact, somebody asked me recently, are we going to have Spider Squirrel masks available as like a Kickstarter reward? And I was like, well, shit, no. But
I know a guy I can hook you up. I'll get you in contact.
actually, I might ping you about that. So yes, my first ever con with my WatchGuard stuff was 2005 Heroes Con. Actually, somebody came up and the first person was like, they bought a book from me, and I was like, sweet. And they looked at me and they kind of stood there like this, and I was like, what?
I'm not going to tip you.
Right. And I'm like, and I realized, oh shoot, I gotta sign it. So I signed the book. That was awkward. But after that, I kind of expected it. So I'm just like pencil whipping my signature on every single one that goes out the door, whether people wanted it or not. And then Ninja Warrior was one that got me. Like the first kid, they said, "Hey, will you sign my shirt?" And I was like, "Really? Why?" And so that was weird to me. But I realized that people look up to different people for different things, and we have values to different things. And I think the signature thing is really, I like it. I think it's really cool. It's still weird and humbling to me, honestly. I act like an egomaniac like Nick, but I'm not always. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I mean, I would have to have feelings to be offended. No, but you're absolutely right.
But yeah, so it's still kind of weird to ask for it, but I'm grateful. So I appreciate that. But no cosplay, and I'm actually looking forward to that. If you guys are watching, I'll give you the designs. You can cosplay all day.
I was looking at the suits design, like, because little known fact about Nick, I am a sew. Well, besides that, I sew. I've sewn a lot of my own costumes, my own cosplays.
Fancy.
That's awesome, dude.
Dude, that's awesome.
My problem looking at the suit was everything from the wrist up into the shoulders, that scaly look. So I might just send it to Gunhead Designs, who are just famous for making their Spider-Man suits. And I'm like, put this texture on there and give me about 6 months to do a lot of sit-ups. And then the mask, I can craft that. But give me about a year. I'll have a cosplay for you.
And if you're a really good boy, he might even debut it on his OnlyFans.
Well, I might pay for that one there, Nick. I'm just saying.
It's free because it's all about the art for me.
He's cheap.
You got to pay extra for the feet, though.
You do got to pay extra for the feet. See, people think I'm joking. No, I do have an OnlyFans. It's when I thought it was like Patreon. So I jump on there, I create an account, I throw a bunch of artwork on there, and then I realize that it is a very naughty place. Yeah. Well, so I stuck around longer. Found some cosplayers that I was like, And next thing you know, $10 a pop, and you get to see all kinds of stuff. They will show you the world. And now we're gonna get sued by Disney. You're welcome.
So in your defense, when it started, it did briefly have a moment where people were talking about it was a creator's platform, much like Patreon.
Well,
and then
it was too, because there's people like John Legend on there. You know, there was like singers on there. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is like Patreon, and then just like Twitter or Instagram, you start heading towards another path, and you're like, how did I get here and I need an adult?
All right. So
it was all pure and innocent.
So in his defense, dear listeners, it did start as a Patreon-esque, but once the Patreon
it really did, and then it turned into it's what you know it as trying to feed their family.
Yep.
But this is where we talk about everything that the Spider Squirrel Charlie McElvy has created. So, sir, could you please give us the highlights reel of what you're known for?
Yeah. So actually, I'm known for this WatchGuard source book.
Hold on. Give me a second. I will make you the solo layout, and after you hold it up, everybody can see it.
There you go.
It's glorious.
That artwork is pretty.
Digitally, and it's available on Amazon. This was my first publication, and it's 156 something pages. We even have our own city map.
That's cool.
I like that.
Google Map style. That was the birthplace, that was the I guess the first sibling of Spider Squirrel. So the WatchGuard came out, and that was the thing where I couldn't figure out who I was at the time, and so I actually wrote myself in all these different characters, and so that's how I ended up with 40 plus characters. So I'm a little schizoid, but is that the right phrase anymore? I don't even know. And so that was the start of it, and
we'll allow it.
Yeah, well, or somebody will ban me. Then
it ain't gonna be me, brother. I want to have beers with you.
Let's do it, bourbon. So that's that was the birth of it all for me. And then fast forward to today, I realized, what, who, where, why, how, when, whatever I am. So that's where Spider Squirrel came from. So those are the things I'm most known for. You'll find me on YouTube doing commercials and other silly stuff, but that kind of the things that matter the most to me personally, are my children and my literal children and WatchGuard, Spider Squirrel, those guys. Anything beyond that. So that's what I'm known for. I do.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I do actually publish other people's stuff too if they're interested. Like on Drive Through RPG, I publish stuff for Sketch Glitchino. He does a lot of his RPG stuff for Mutants and Masterminds. So I publish his works for him because it's easier to go through an existing audience and stuff like that. So,
absolutely.
That's cool. So you heard it here first. His contact will be in the show notes, and then if you want to reach out, you could pick his brain and publish with his publishing company, and you could give us a nod of thanks when you make it rich and famous.
And when you're you can say you're Padawan to Spider Squirrel.
That's right.
There you go.
Do I have to grow the ponytail and the braid?
Nah.
Yes.
No, you have to grow a tail though. I mean,
No, Nick, stop.
All right, so we're gonna
Just
get back
saying,
to
Amazon's got some very interesting plugs
All right,
for
this
that
is-
item.
No.
JR's like, wait, pull it together.
we got this.
No,
All right,
on to
so
the topic of comics.
so what's the difference?
No, they
we
make
talked
comic book ones too.
Okay, so we've talked about comics. So what's the difference between, because my son likes to read manga, and I always call it comics, and he gets mad at me. So what's the difference between manga,
I would get
comics,
mad at you too.
and graphic novels? Like educate someone who grew up reading the words, not the pictures.
Yeah. So it's funny. I just saw this debate
So, like,
argument,
half the show.
whatever online. I'll say this. To me, comics is a frame, right? It's a framework. So what is comics? Comics is sequential art with words written in balloons, typically, not always. Words are, balloons are
Bar with word and captions. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's comics. So by that definition, manga is comics. Now, manga is not comic books in the sense that we typically think of graphic novels and traditional comics. Why? Because there's aesthetics to manga that are extremely unique to manga. It's its own subgenre. And I would not put the two in the same category. I put them in the same store. I'd put them in the same general presence of each other. I'd put them on the same bookshelf even. I do. But I won't argue over it. If someone says manga's not comics, I'm like, fine, whatever. I don't care that much. Right? It's just but they are the same thing. They're both a visual medium that is told with the same basic elements. Outside of that, it's style.
Yeah, stylistic. That's the only difference between them. It's a stylistic difference.
Is there
Mine
any
just
light
tries to tell
difference?
me that they're all novels.
What?
My spawn just tries to tell me they're all novels, so it counts as reading time.
Well, it does
He's
count as
not wrong. He's out of line, but he's right.
Thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. On your left.
On your left.
So is there any difference in length between all the three, or does that not a judging factor?
No, I don't think that's a judging factor at all. I mean, comics, we already talked about it earlier. Comics can be, 20 pages, 22, 24, whatever, 96.
I think
the biggest difference was the finished product. Like graphic novels, when I've gotten them, typically they're like bound almost like a book, sometimes even hardcovered.
Oh, wait till we start talking about the difference between graphic novels and trade paperbacks.
Oh, yes.
I know what trade paperbacks
I do
are.
have an
There's
opinion
no
on that.
pictures in them.
All right, we can't all talk at once, children.
Charlie,
This is why I'm the sober one.
Damn it, I'm the guest. Shut up. No, I'm just kidding.
he's out of line, but he's right.
We can keep him.
No, I do have an opinion on that. So to me, graphic novel and trade paperback, the only difference in the two should be that the graphic novel is a singular story told in completion. Like there should be no trail off. I mean, you can always do the ... for sure and elements, but I don't think I think the story should be done. Frame that sucker up and be done. Trade paperback to me is a story arc collected together for consumption. That's my opinion. That's why I tend to stick with the phrase original graphic novel or OGN, because then I'm being really clear. It's never been published in other sections before. It's not a series of books that can, be bought separately. It was only available in this format. Steve Conley's book, was it Gloop? I always forget the name of that thing. I've read it, but it's on my shelf even. Or Molly Danger from Jamal. That would be an OGN. That would be a graphic novel to me. But
okay. So this is
the Fantastic Four by Ringo and Mark Waid. That would be it's a hardcover collection, but it's a trade. It's a collection of books. So that's the difference.
Okay. So normally we have shenanigans.
Ed Brubaker's Captain America: Winter Soldier in a hardcover, which I have, compared to 30 Days of Night, which is a graphic novel. It's one complete story.
Cisca, this is where we smile and nod. But so sometimes
I pat you on the head and say, "Good little hosts."
I will bite you.
So she's actually taller than us. So normally we have some shenanigans going on the side of our street. Hush, Nick. Normally we have some.
Oh, you're my favorite Hobbit.
Normally we keep the shenanigans that are on the side to ourselves, but this was too funny. So as we're talking and Charlie says, "Hush, I'm the guest, I get to speak," Cisca puts in the side, "Someone get him a DD-214 so we can keep him." So have you any interest
in of Sergeant?
Do you have any interest in temporarily joining the Virginia militia so we can call you a veteran and keep you?
Pretty sure they're on an FBI watch list.
I don't know, dude. I've eaten the food. I don't think so. I'm good.
Yeah, wise man.
Virginia has an official.
Solid.
Nick, Virginia has an official state militia that's separate from what you're thinking about. They're not on the watch list. They're just a bunch of good boys who show up at the fair and stand in bad uniforms and stuff. And now I'm going to get hate mail.
I live in the I live near the so I call Virginia the bastard child of the Civil War because you go to North Carolina and South and everyone says, oh, you damn Yankees, and you go above like Maryland and above and they're like, oh, you bunch of Southerners. So no one wants to claim Virginia. I live in the bastard child of the bastard child. So the defining city of the war or one of the major defining cities of the war is right here in my backyard, and I just nobody Central North Virginia says or Northern Virginia is like, you guys are South, and Richmond people are like, you guys are Northerners, and nobody wants us either. So that's my life, and I'm sticking to it. So I don't care.
We actually have a legal militia.
I lost track.
All right, so let's get back to talking about comics before we get more hate mail from Walt, because he's going to be like, look, I can't do this. So we're going to...
I don't know what you're talking about. Walt never says anything bad.
I can't answer that without losing our family-friendly rating again. So now let's talk about.
Wait till we go back into the green room, Cisca. I'm gonna explain it all to you.
So now let's talk about your specific comics, Charlie, instead of more broadly about the wide world of comics. So what makes your comics, the Spider Squirrel, the Charlie McElvy, what makes them special?
You're never going to find Spider Squirrel anywhere else. So first off, I mean, the absurdity of the book, I think, is it's not that it hasn't been done before. It's very Blue Beetle, Booster Goldish. The difference, I think, is that I tell it from my heart. And so if you give a damn about me, then, there's one reason. But more than that, I think it's there's no agenda in the book. I know people get, spun up whether it should or shouldn't have an agenda. I don't care. I think some books should and some books shouldn't. But I'm a fan, so I'm going to read what I want to read. If you like a book that just is unashamedly a comic book, there's your answer. That's my book. There's no, I don't spend the first 10 pages of the book going, by the way, here's how Spider Squirrel was born. He was bit by a radioactive spider. Not true, by the way. That's not how he was. But, we just forget the origin. We're just going to jump right in, and frankly, we jump right into his life as a University of Richmond college kid who just got dumped by his girlfriend. He's excited about it. Now he wants to date other chicks. I mean, we're just going to jump right in and have fun. And then next thing you know, crap happens and you got time traveling people everywhere and you don't know where Spider Squirrel's at, but now you got to fight people and you don't have your lead character. He's off somewhere else. And that's comics, right? So that's why.
So would you say then that your style is an homage to the classic? Before it was all about message fic and it was just a fun, and like I said, I'm not judging it. I read some of that too, but more like a pulp era almost.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, Sean Isaacs from who's the artist on Fantastic Four. Yeah, I just name dropped. He read it and he said, "This is fun. This is like." If you like the classic 90s fun, like entertaining books, this book is for you kind of thing. So he tweeted it. You can go validate that. But that was, to me, what I was going for is I just wanted to now I don't want it to feel like such a throwback that it's like, wow, this book feels old. But I didn't want to have that same entertainment factor. So and Doc's losing it. What?
No, I'm not. I'm just looking at the... I was looking and I was trying to find out where I put my water bottle or my grape juice.
And this is her air quotes for water bottle.
No, there is a water bottle. It's grape juice.
Resveratrol. Yes.
Nick, before we have to do an intervention, I'll let you ask the next question.
No, listening to how you are starting your story, do you think that is a as I was interrupted by a pack of retarded wolves.
At least it wasn't us this time.
Oh, well, thank God. Anyway. So, because I like that way of storytelling of not having to give the whole first 10 pages to a backstory. You just jump right into the action. Do you think that is going to be a more common trope amongst, and I don't use trope as like a negative epithet or anything like that. But do you think that's going to be something we're going to see more apparent in indie creators? Do you think that that's probably something that's more specific to creators our age that grew up with the image comic scene at its foundation?
Yeah, I think I don't think there's an easy answer for that. My opinion is that it's always going to depend on the goal of the writer. So, when I wrote this character, I intentionally just didn't want to give his backstory. I mean, it's easy enough, right? So I didn't want to give his backstory and just sit here and tell his, he's a college kid and blah, blah, blah. And he's dating this chick, Brooklyn, and she just dumped him. And you get all that through the interactions. And his backstory really doesn't matter as far as, him as a hero. But there are characters in the indie comics that from people, our age that are written that do tell the origin story because it's inherent to the character. Here's the difference, and I think I just nailed it. For me, his backstory makes no difference in the kind of hero he is. It none at all, no bearing. It's like Peter Parker, right? You got the Great Responsibility quote. You got Uncle Ben, Aunt May interactions. You got all of these. He's a college kid. He was kind of bullied. All of that plays into Spider-Man. Oh, and he's super smart and all. That matters. So you don't get Spider-Man without that.
Right.
But none of that matters for Spider Squirrel. Like how he got his powers, it makes no bearing on who he is. He just is. And that's kind of what I get at. Same with Trash Panda.
I love that name.
Everybody's
that name.
Oh, that was a drunken epiphany. No. That was
we class it up around here and we call that the Hemingway approach.
The Hemingway approach. I'm glad to know that I am actually a classical author. I like that.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Because I've said that on the show multiple times when creators are like, "Oh, well, I was drunk when I wrote that." I'm like, no. It's the Hemingway approach because he was a well-known fan of things that altered mind states, mostly alcohol.
And that's different than the Chuck Cannon approach, which is just sit down and write, even if it makes no sense, and then edit it later.
Or most Hollywood executives where they do a line of coke and they're like, all right. And then they have like a Mad Lib sheet and they're like, all right, give me this. All right. And then this, and I need an actor and I need this traumatic event. All right, here we go. And then we're going to make a lot of money, And
then you give it to Ryan Johnson. All right.
Ruin Johnson.
Well, whatever his name is.
That's a show. No, that's what I call him because he ruined.
Oh, you ruined. Oh,
ruined Star Wars. I hope you're listening too, Ruin.
He's not.
Be sure to send all the hate mail to J.R. Handley at blastersandbladespodcast.com.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. So why don't we move on before I get more hate mail and ask him a little bit.
JR.
All right. So before
we ever got in actual hate mail from one episode, you're good.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good as a podcast.
Oh, come on. We got to do mean tweets. Read it. I want to read it.
Oh, that was under the last iteration, and I didn't keep it. I didn't know it was going to be. It was going to tickle her fancy so much.
Oh, we should totally do mean tweets.
I mean, I don't.
Right.
We don't have any mean tweets about us. It's great.
Because we are awesome and we are lovable.
Or people are just afraid of me.
That's also possible. So Nick, let's. We got this. We got this. Right. Come on, back on track.
Dude, I am not an infant. Okay, I retract that part. I am an infant child in an adult body. But anyway, before we get into a more broad-ranging Q&A, asshole, about the wild world of gaming, I have to ask the low-hanging fruit. Has technology changed what readers of comics expect of their material, or maybe how quickly they should appear?
No, I don't think so. Well, okay. I do think, depending on what age category we're talking about, and I hate to talk about ages in certain ways and sound like an old man, but I mean, like, the Fortniters. I think the Fortnite group, and I know that age group is pretty much the same as like ours down to my son.
I have an 11-year-old kid that's playing that freaking game right now in the next room.
Exactly.
Bonkers.
But there are guys already playing this game too. So I mean, it's the same like fan base, I think. But I say that knowing that. I think that there's an expectation, though, that has changed on what we get in books. I don't think that the rapidity of the books coming out has changed or is being forced to change because of this. In fact, I think people are in for the longer haul. If anything, I think Image, for example, has given us the clemency to be tardy on books that we didn't have 20 years ago, right? Or 30 years ago. Where the hell? When was the 90s? I don't know. Get off my lawn.
Oh my God, it was 30 years ago.
Hey, I know my wife.
Don't you lie. You shut your lying mouth.
I didn't realize.
Until Charlie jumped on here, I am the oldest man in this group.
And I think I might have.
Yeah, you're the shortest.
Not by much. You were born in 75, Charlie?
Yeah.
Yeah, 78. So he's got 3 years on it. But
a little bit.
Still, generationally,
Still
Gen X, which is the coolest generation. Changed my mind.
Anyway, back on track. Comics.
We're talking about comics. Everything's interconnected, man. It's like
so we were talking about. I will finish that thought though. So I do think that we are given the freedom now to actually be a little tardy on books. We put things out on a pace that matters, as long as we keep our fans connected. And that's what battle passes and stuff like Fortnite have done. Is it's the same damn game. Yeah. It's just we get some new content. So as long as they can get the life out of what we've produced, and then we provide enough new content within a reasonable span of time, we will keep our fans, and in fact, we'll grow them. I think.
Just to piggyback on that, I think a lot of it is we get that leeway because there's quality being produced. So, giving credit to the fans of the indie scene that give us that leeway of being anywhere from 6 months to a year late in producing a new book is that we're producing a better quality over quantity. So we're not just hammering them month after month with
I think
shoddy storytelling and subpar artwork just because they're trying to meet a deadline. We're more focused on presenting the best product possible for our consumer, our fans, our readership. And now Cisca is going to berate me on air.
Well, I was going to say, I think one of the things is it is more obviously difficult to draw than to write. Because I hear people who will go, oh, well, I could write that instead of this time frame. And I'm like, yeah, you could write something, but is it worth actually reading? And everybody knows drawing is more obviously a challenge. I think there's more mystique to comics and the creation process than there is to writing.
138 man hours to produce one comic book.
Yeah, it's laborious.
I'm just saying, I think that from an outside perspective, I think you guys get more leeway in some ways on some of it because everybody wants to try and everybody thinks they're Hemingway somewhere inside them.
Oh, the funniest thing is to find a writer that thinks the easy way is to write for comics. That's the funniest thing I've heard throughout my career in the comic book industry. It's like, well, I was going to write a novel, but I figured comics would be easier. Who? Yeah, send them to me. I will give them a master class on how they are wrong.
All right, so I guess
it's a very tough medium, and Charlie can attest to this. It's a tough medium to work in. I mean, my first couple of comic books, I was writing it, and as the artist, I'd much rather draw it than write it.
Okay, but having said that, what subgenres or genres do you think translate better to the comic medium?
Oh. That is a really tricky sword to balance on.
Oh yeah,
I want to hear Charlie's answer. I'm excited from the writer's standpoint.
Listen, I read I have the hardcover collection of Android's Dream of Electric Sheep. I've got that. It's almost like verbatim transliteration onto comic book format. It's fantastic. So there's that. I've read the Drizzt Orden series, which is a Dungeons and Dragons based series. I've read Hobbit, Lord of the Rings comic books, not always great, but whatever. Then there's Star Wars. I don't know that there's a genre that doesn't work in comics. I mean, there's right? Because you think about Sin City. So Sin City is Sin City is damn you.
It could have worked as a trashy noir novel.
Exactly.
I thought it was
a radio show. It could have been a radio show.
I thought Sin City was noir.
It is.
No, it absolutely is. But
Okay.
just like there's noir in novelization, there's noir in comics too. Look at the Spirit. Spirit is classic noir.
Absolutely.
You know, that's, and you've heard me say this on multiple podcasts. I love noir. I'm a huge fan of it. Don't come at me because I will destroy you. I love it. I love it as a genre in novelization. I love it in comics. Sin City is a perfect example. I'm glad Charlie brought it up.
I watched that movie.
Both of them?
Did she just say that?
Is that a bad thing?
Well, I mean, we got to be proud of her.
I didn't know there were two. I thought there was only
She doesn't
one.
really cross over into our side of the geekdom realm, you know? And we're over here with.
It reminded me of those fans who, like, you know, you start nerding out over your favorite book and they go, "Oh my God, I saw that movie." You're like, "No, shut up."
Well, I'm
Like
your
Captain
mind.
America. Like, I understood that reference.
I understood that was not the same thing.
No, you're on track. You're going to be a comic book reader within 6 months.
No.
Yeah, I blow people's mind when I tell them I like the Starship Trooper movies better than the book.
Well,
I get my politics from the book, but I get my entertainment from the movies, especially Marauders. That was just horribly awful.
Oh,
It is.
But so entertaining at the same time.
What makes something compatible or ideal for translation into a pictorial comic book space?
I think just for me, my opinion is that it's just what makes it viable. A fan base. I mean, if you think that your fans are beyond just a novel, for example, okay, I would not. I love To Kill a Mockingbird. It's one of my favorite books. It's my wife's absolute favorite books. Favorite book of all time. She loves it. There's no freaking way I could ever read that as a comic book. Like, it just, I don't know. I
take you right out of it.
It's just so weird, right? No, I saw it on Broadway. It was really good on Broadway. That, you know, I just don't think it. I don't think it translates. So I don't know that there's a real good answer to that, Doc. Except for, will the fans believe, the existing fans believe that this is suitable in this genre, this format? Sorry, I said genre. I meant format. That's to me where that comes down to.
Medium
right?
would have been acceptable. Also.
Thank you.
No, you're absolutely right. There are comic books can achieve a lot of things, but there's some things that just should not be transitioned into the comic book medium.
Yeah.
And the flip side of that, there is one translated sci-fi, and I won't name names because we keep it positive here, where I bought the graphic novel. I have it digitally. I don't have a physical copy because I loved the universe and the comic. The art was amazing. It let visualize some of what was in the novels that I loved. But the story in the actual graphic novel, horrible. It was just like, there was no point to the whole story.
That's the weird dichotomy with comic book fans is that book will continue to be successful as long as the artwork is successful for a certain portion. So, and I hate to say that, but it is true because I'm one of the guys. I'm the visual guy. The story could be total, it could be a turd, but if the artwork is just on par, it's just top notch every time, you will have me as a reader month to month. Now, on the flip side of the coin, there's comic books that I've continually purchased where the story was phenomenal, the artwork sucked, but I was more engaged with the story than I was the artwork.
Well, I think you just picked up on the beautiful part about my favorite thing about comics is that there is no one thing that keeps people reading, right? But there could be. But if you have, like, and again, I'll reference the Fantastic Four by Ringo and Wade. I mean, I can't think of anybody who doesn't love one or the other or both, right, of those two creators. So to me, you've got the perfect storm. You've got a great set of characters. You got a lot of great history. You've got a cool genre. You've got a really, whatever you think of Wade, you know, he's a great writer, and he's certainly prolific and accomplished, no matter what anybody's opinion is of him. And Ringo was one of the most amazing gentlemen and a phenomenal artist. So you kind of put all that together. You could write a really crappy book, and I did, and have it control the industry, and it works. And
everybody has a crappy book inside them. They don't all have a good book, but everybody's got a crappy one inside them. It's okay.
Everyone's writing the first 3 issues of Phantom Hawk. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm writing a book every single month too, I can't imagine that I'm always going to put up the same level of quality because at some point somebody I hit a wall, right? Everyone has a scaling wall when they're writing, whether it's the end of the novel, or you get writer's block halfway through the novel. The comics is no different, right? So you get to a point where you're just, and so you got to hand it off, or you got to have one hell of a good artist that's going to keep people entertained, even when the writer flops it, or vice versa.
Well, and that's what I love about comic books too. It's an orchestra to make it work. You got so many moving parts. You got the writer, you got the pencil. We'll just call it the art team. So you know your penciler, inker, and colorist. You have the letterer too. The lettering actually has a big role to play in how the book looks. So without all those things coming together in perfect sync, just like a symphony, it's or an orchestra, it's the music's not going to sound right.
I agree.
And one of the great things I love about comic books is that you got people that go into it for the stories, and you have people that go into it for the artwork, and then you have that third tier that go in for both.
Yeah.
So it just multiplies the amount of reach that you can have.
Good answer.
Okay,
Yeah.
so have you worked with existing properties like that existed beforehand? Like I mentioned, David Weber and John Ringo, both their books turned into comics. So, how do you go about doing that with the field? Do you worry about it, or do you just send them like, "Hey, look, this is what I think this world looks like," and yes, no, maybe so?
I have, but not published. My answer to the question is that you've got to, as a writer, your ego has to kind of be subsumed a little bit, because you've got to pull back. You're working with somebody else's creation, and if there's an existing fan base, we kind of talked about this earlier, right? If there's an existing fan base, you've got to justify putting it into a new medium, and you've got to do that by maintaining a sense of what the character or character's world or universe is, right? If you lose that, you lose everything. You guys won't know this, but Rick, Nick will remember this. I was going to call you Rick because like Ranger Nick, and just kind of mash it all together. So there's your bro.
Rick!
That's your Brangelina name, Rick. Or rank, I don't know. If you remember,
I'll allow them.
You remember Heroes Were Born, right? And there was so much
God.
That was, and that's such a
Rob Liefeld's Captain America. Sorry,
I can't do the chest. Anyway,
nobody can because it's anatomically impossible.
Hold on, I might actually have that to show Doc because she has no idea what we're talking about. Oh my God, I do. Oh God, give me a second.
And now he's climbing like a squirrel.
Okay. All right.
Someone's been doing squats.
Let me find this. Let me find this page while I'm talking. So
it's okay. Keep doing squats.
I can do those too, but I did those earlier.
You've just been sexualized, Charlie, on a family show. How dare
you? I don't know what you're talking about. Working out is important.
My wife does this all the time, and I can't figure out why we have all these kids. So,
because when I reach into the fridge, someone grabs my butt, and then next thing you know, boom! 9 months later, we have another child.
That's how it happened. Your school was interesting, wasn't it?
To say the least.
Well, I mean, it was Catholic school, but I'll take it.
What was the question? No, but if we go back to the Heroes Reborn thing, which
you're talking about Heroes Reborn.
Yeah. Then what happened there, guys, is for those who don't know, is basically the Image comic creators, which arguably defined comics for the next 2 generations, really, of readers, and still today, got a chance to really almost rewrite existing heroes. Fantastic Four, Captain America, the Avengers, right? All the way down. And some of it was actually really good, and some of it was absolute not good. Okay, thank you. I was trying to be nice.
They expect that from me, so whatever.
And so what happened is people rebelled because this is not the one. Damn it! I thought I was in here. People rebelled. Why? Here's where we're getting back to the question. So it's because they went too far in some ways with the characters. They didn't go, in some ways maybe they didn't go far enough, and so it still felt like home. But somebody redecorated it, and it's like, the hell, man, where's my bed?
I've had that happen.
Now we're getting a weird analogy.
My mother converted my room while I was in basic training.
Oh,
that was a hint.
That's normal.
No, it is not. I'm the girl.
Oh, I guess that isn't normal. You're right.
No,
So
it is. My mother never really cared that I was the girl.
So anyway, so I can't find the damn picture, but I'm sure somebody could throw it up on the web or find it and put it up on the web because it's like the most hilariously mocked picture ever.
Hold on, I'm gonna bring it up real quick.
There you go, brother. So yeah, I do think that you have to, when you're dealing with somebody else's property, you got to set yourself aside enough to actually do it justice. You've got to keep the existing, or at least enough of the existing fans. Look what happened with Star Wars. It's a real immediate example right there of you got fans who blew a gasket over the secondary trilogy, or I guess it would be the second trilogy, yeah. Who blew a gasket. The other fans who are kind of lukewarm on it, others who loved it for different reasons. They were not typically the same people. I mean, they're different types. And I think the ones of us who grew up with it struggled a little bit. The ones who didn't grow up with it, there it is.
Oh wow, those are man boobies.
I love that. That was big. Was it Big Boss or Boss Logic? The Boss Logic, right? That's the guys who did the Chris Evans edit there to make it match that.
Yeah, it's. Oh
yeah,
my God. Rob, if you're listening, after 30 years in this industry, he's probably not. But I'm going to send him a direct message because my friends over there on Instagram. I'm going to show him this episode because I'm going to
block you.
He does that a lot too, but it's like anatomically this. Wow,
it's a mess.
It is a mess, and unfortunately,
he's dramatic. If I saw somebody looking like that, they'd have to go to the doctor.
Oh, absolutely, because he's probably got a collapsed lung on his right side because he's not asymmetrical, or he is asymmetrical to a very grotesque. Anyway, here's the image.
All right, so let's
please get better.
Let us move on. So that now we have that example. So normally we ask authors when we talk to people that write the books and the words, if their books were being translated into other mediums, RPGs, comics, games, etc. So this time we're going to ask the reverse. Have any of your independent intellectual properties, i.e. your comics, been novelized?
No. Who wants to write it?
All right. So now you know who to send your mail to when we list his contacts in social media.
Yeah.
All right. So you're interested, but it hasn't happened yet.
Correct. Now, obviously, just what I told you earlier with the watch guard, that's a gaming supplement. So with me, I think I use gaming as a nice way to build a subcategory of fan base. Some folks, I actually convert quite a bit of the gamers to comics and vice versa. I've had a lot of comics folks that, hey, I never played games before, but I checked this out, and then I went and bought Mutant the Mastermind's core rule book, and now we're playing every time.
Such a good game.
It's so fun, right? I haven't played in a long freaking time, but
last time I played was with Walt like 2 years ago.
Dude.
Okay.
I think the last time I played might have been on Walt's podcast, actually.
Might have been the same day.
Jesus.
I doubt it. I wasn't that drunk.
Okay. So Nick.
Oh.
Nick,
just step over the guest. I mean, whatever. It's, like, how do we get people to come on this show? I don't know.
We're only an hour in, and now we get to finally talk to him about Spider Squirrel, which is why we invited him on.
I mean, cool.
Cisca.
Hey,
yeah. Well, I'm getting it.
I really want to know.
Yeah. All right. So now, for the reason why we drug you out of the comic book creators dungeon, we want to talk about this new comic world you're releasing to the public. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah.
So I want to know all the dirty deeds.
All right, deeds, ready? It's on Kickstarter right now.
There we go.
Yeah. So Spider Squirrel, we talked about it a little bit. Kind of gave you guys a little glimpse of what's going on. We had so much freaking fun. So several things we talked about kind of led up to this. So it's a perfect set of questions. You guys are great. It is on Kickstarter right now. It's Spider Squirrel #1. It's I listed as a buddy hero multiversal adventure. It's fun. It's absurd. I don't explain everything to you like you're 12. If you are 12, you're still going to love it. If you're under 12, you probably ought to ask your mom. It is kind of a teen rated book because I think I dropped like, a D word maybe or something like that. But it's a whole heck of a lot of fun. It is blowing my mind how well people are responding to this. I'm very excited about that. The most important thing to me is that I spent 2 years building this series up, and it's not just this book, but I've got this issue is already completed, and issue 2 is already completed, and issue 3 is fully penciled and inked and partially colored, and we're finishing up colors and letters before this one should finish. Well, definitely before the second one goes up on Kickstarter. So I am going to deliver, Nick, books at a pace that is more like a production house as an indie comic, but it's only 3 issues. So I can't take all the credit. I built this up. I spent a lot of time funding this myself, getting to this point. But the art team, we all had a great time. You can skim through here. Phenomenal artists. I'm trying to change the view of indie comics as well, not just try to make a name for myself in comics. I want people to see as indie comics as a legit viable option, not just a third option, but an also, right? It's not just Marvel and DC. There are legit comics out here that are entertaining, beautifully drawn. I do have some really high profile, like my colorist on these pages you're scanning through now is John Rock. He's actually working for DC right now. He's done Batwoman.
Oh yeah.
He did Invincible. I don't know, 30 some odd issues of Invincible.
Yeah.
So John's a great dude and a phenomenal colorist, just a great artist, period. So
Scott McDaniel, go back on here and do some add-ons.
Scott McDaniel did a cover, and if anybody knows comics, Scott is known for his Daredevil and Nightwing books. 2 of my influences for this one, at least in the acrobatics visual side, but I had to have Scott.
I don't remember if he was before or after Ron Garney on the Daredevil stint.
He's way before Ron.
But yeah,
yeah.
If I look at a long box, I'm pretty sure I got his stuff in there. Huge, obviously huge Daredevil.
Yeah, I've got it up there somewhere. Yeah, his stuff's great. In fact, even when I write some of the panels, told the artist, "Hey, I want to see these like McDaniel-esque shadows of him bouncing around," and they know what I'm talking about. So,
oh yeah, it's his trademark.
So that's it. It is 3 issues. This one obviously is funded. It was funded in 5 days, which is outstanding. You guys are out. You're amazing. Now I'm struggling coming up with more stretch goals to keep it going, but it's a good problem to have. I'll get this out to you guys as soon as I can. We're going to get it printed and out to everybody's hands. And we're going to get issue 2 up there and then issue 3 subsequently. But wait, there's more. This isn't going to end with these 3 issues. I do have 2 other mini-series being written by other writers. So I'm letting somebody play in my sandbox. Wow, that could go. I'll stop right there. And
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So I have 2 other mini-series being written by other artists already published either in the indie space or in the big 2. We'll keep using that phrase. And then I have a series of one-shots that I'll kind of stitch in where the publication dates work for me. And then I'm also working on a Spider Squirrel annual, which is really just going to be an oversized, almost anthological Spider Squirrel book. I'll deal with him. I'll deal with his relationships. I'll do a day in the life. I'll have an entire Trash Panda story just because everybody loves Trash Panda. We're just going to have fun.
Everybody loves spinoffs. They do.
Yep. I got Cosmic. I've got I've got down street level stuff we're gonna do. Dan Faust is gonna do a street level Punisher style book for us. A little bit more noir, and a little bit more not brutal like Punisher, but just down to earth, that kind of thing. So a lot of fun. We're gonna cover it all.
Really cool stuff. I love it.
So do you intend at some point to write your own like anthology of short stories? I've seen some comics that did that. Some of the indie ones where they anthology of short stories, by people involved in the project.
Other people. Yeah. So I actually am planning on writing up the bulk of the annual, but I am going to invite other writers to come in and write a bunch of stories too. Just, some, oh, wait, I already did that actually. So I didn't, thanks. You're a good straight man, JR. I didn't get into you asked earlier, what's one of the weird defining special, what makes people want to buy my book? I didn't just write this and and my one art team didn't just do this. I actually involved several other individuals, creators from the indie comics community. So without giving away the shtick, and I only use that word because it's in our chat, but without giving away the thing, that really makes this book a lot of fun. Spider Squirrel gets to meet up with a bunch of characters from other indie comics universes. So I had other creators write him with their characters and or their places and their villains and whatever, and let him interact with them from 4 to 8 pages, whatever we agreed upon. And their art team actually is going to produce that part of the book. So it's like he visits their world, if you will. So, God, I suck. I'm the worst interviewer ever. But
no, you're awesome, dude. Keep going.
I should have said that earlier. But that's one of those cool things that I think that just really sets this book apart is we get to have fun. The multiverse lets me do whatever I want, and because the multiverse is a made-up thing, and I can take it even further. So I'm doing just that. And I think it's great that, I get a chance to do this. And I'm really thankful for all of the writers and art teams that jumped in on this. Everyone seemed to have a blast. It's really fun. So it will be a little jarring for some people if you expect to see the same art style all the way through. But I think we wrote it well enough that the interstitials kind of pop in and you go, oh, I'm obviously not in the main story. So I think it'll be pretty obvious for most people.
All right.
Okay. So do you have any other questions about the bromance of the comic book world to throw in there, Nick?
Yeah, I do, because you took out my favorite question that we ask all these novelists who have no connection to the art team that does the covers for their books. So, yeah, I'm going to throw that at you right now. JR, Handley, looking at you.
All right. Well, so the reason I did that was because, like, with the book cover, it's obvious it's out there. It's a thing, right? With comics, I'm never sure, like, how much we could share without, like, violating any potential publishing, because with Amazon, you can only share so much before you get copyright strike when you're published with them. I didn't want to make anybody mad and violate IP, so I was just like, I'm going to let the guest show what he wants to show. Wake your happy butt up.
I love you. Hush.
Nick looks like
Hush your mouth.
a 6-year-old right now.
Hush your mouth. Hush your mouth. I got this. All right. Okay, so it's a 2-part question. Who came up with the concept design for Spider Squirrel's look?
Oh, great question. So the base concept was me. I've designed most of my characters throughout my life, and it's something I really enjoy doing. I like the aesthetic. For me, it works because I can visualize a lot of things. But with Spider Squirrel, I did step into a partnership with Ray Anthony Height, who has done books for Marvel. He's done books all over the place. He's got, is it Sky Tiger Studio? Holy crap. I'm pretty sure that's the new name of it. I can't believe I forgot it now. Brain fart on the fly here. But Ray's coming out with his own stuff. He has Midnight Tiger, which is an indie comic.
Midnight Tiger is an amazing book.
Right? I love Ray. He's also, for as amazing as the book is, I think Ray is 1,000 times greater. He's such a great dude, humble guy, family man. Love the guy, and a great artist. So,
oh yeah, me too. And I follow him on like every social platform that he's on.
He just got back on Facebook, but
I know. I was excited because I thought maybe something had happened to him.
Nah, he's all good. But
he took a break. But he was still pretty active on IG, which was good.
Yeah. So Ray did the bulk of the design work. You know what? Let me see if I might even be able to share that with you guys. How about that? The original.
Please do. I love
character sheet. So give me a sec. I'll share my screen as soon as I pull it up. I don't want to like be digging through here and be like, what the heck are we looking at? Nerd dog, you're such an idiot. All right, let's see, Spider. So yeah, Ray came up with what became damn close to being the final design, and then I got into some tweaks and did the rest myself. The logo is mine. That was I had to give a little tip of the hat to my fellow collaborator Vito Del Sante. When I first drew it up there, Vito says, "You know, you need to take that tail and turn it vertical." And then I was like, "Oh no, it looks like an S." And he's like, "Yes, idiot." No, he didn't. But he should have said that. He didn't say it, but he really should have said that. And that's there it is, character design.
I know Squirrel Girl. Is that why Squirrel Girl's tail is always vertical?
I don't have a clue. That's a really good question. I don't pay attention to her because I've not really.
She's just the worst.
I don't. Yeah, I don't want to judge because I don't even know who created her. But she's just. I don't know.
I don't know. I know it was in a.
They
Marvel
took a B-list
book,
character from the
myself.
Marvel universe and OP'd the hell out of her.
They did. Yeah, they started doing that in Marvel Strike Force, the video game, and thankfully she's actually not as OP anymore. Here, I'll share my screen real quick.
Yeah, let's see that.
I tried reading a comic. Apparently, I picked the wrong one.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna burn through some iterations here, and you're gonna be like, dude. But Ray kept throwing stuff at me, and I was like, "Oh, I love that! I love that! I love that! Oh, I don't like that! I love that!" And so you can see
the symbol.
Yeah, that's when I threw that on there. It just evolved gradually.
Well, to be honest, I think that changed from like a squirrel in a spider web to the tail. I think that's what makes or breaks your character right there, as far as concept design.
I want an icon. Yeah, I figured
that is an iconic look at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's actually, I'll show you something really cool. Most people don't notice it. My wife was actually the first person that noticed it, and I was so proud of her because the only comics she ever read were David Mack comics, Kabuki. She loved Kabuki. By the way, that's a book that Doc might really enjoy because it's a lot more of a it's artistic, it's poetic, it's a lot more. Yeah, here's the sideways. Hey, idiot. And then Vito said, turn it. And that's when we got the iconic. Wow. But here's something I'll show you that I don't know if it's really obvious all the time. There's a little animated feet here. So it's like the squirrel is running off the page.
Right.
So anyway, okay, people are like, who cares? Well,
I think it's cute.
No, I care.
Thanks.
And most people care what I care about, I guess. I don't know.
I
I have like 2 fans, but they watch religiously.
So I just thought, it was really cute. It just kind of gave the sense of motion. It had everything about it. It's got the S for Spider Squirrel, and it's got the spider web, the squirrel tail. I mean, everything's there. And so for me, it was just like, I'm getting that ink on my shoulder with my 16-year-old daughter in August. So for my birthday.
Oh, that's awesome.
Daddy,
you join the club of having your own artwork tattooed on your body.
There you go.
Your own characters, yeah. That's awesome. All right, so I have the second part to my question. You have some awesome covers here on your Kickstarter.
Thank you.
You have stuff by Oliver, Francesco. I mean, just like you have some just amazing alt covers here. What led you to choose, and I'm pretty sure it was your choice since you created the character, for the standard cover?
Oh, so if I actually went back into my Dropbox and showed you, you'll find out that the standard cover was actually the one that ended up becoming the Dates of Future Past, the Back to the Future 2 kind of homage. That was the original first cover, because when DC did that, we were joking around. He said, "Hey, I guess we got to do." DC Stoltner's the interior artist for the main story, except for issue 3, which we had a scheduling conflict, and so Ariel Medell picked up issue 3 for me. But DC and I were talking, and I was like, "Dude, we got to do something fun." He's like, "This character is just like, it's just wild. It's a blast. Like we got to." And I had the title "Dates of Future Past" because there's some, again, he's going to go out looking for a girlfriend. So playing on the whole Days of Future Past, theme and everything. And he says, "Hey, what about a Back to the Future homage?" I was like, "Oh, sure." When he spit it out, I was like, "Holy biscuits, that's it." So that was the original cover.
That was the add-on that I chose when I backed the book.
I freaking love that cover, and it almost became the standard cover. The only reason I went with Oliver's, because to me they're all equal for different reasons. Like there's a lot of heart or emotion in each one of these. I went with Oliver's cover because that was the picture that it was like the icon of the character for my social media for a long time, the last couple of years. So that picture showed up as my Facebook cover profile, as my actual profile, my personal page. It was my IG profile for a while. So to me, I said, you know what? That's the picture of Spider Squirrel. The rest of this stuff tells a different story or different aspect of it. So,
no, Oliver's cover is solid. I mean,
oh my god, it's beautiful, right?
From an artistic standpoint, not just the central character in the foreground, but the complexity of the buildings in the background too. It's very, very Todd McFarlane as far as the detail level, and Oliver should be very proud of that cover. And the colors work good too. I mean, John did an amazing job on that.
Yep. No,
I can't wait to put it on my well, it's not a spinner rack, but my rack that I have here for all my indie comics.
Nice rack.
Thank you.
Sorry, I did just damn.
It was $52, and as far as rack jobs are concerned, you can't get any cheaper for the quality of work.
I work in IT, by the way. That's like a common joke. We're like, oh, hey, nice rack.
Nice rack. Oh, like when I was in Iraq, and every time we saw a donkey, hey, that's a nice ass. And that joke never got old.
45 going on 12. That's what I am.
All right, Nick, it's time for you to bring us home.
All right, sir. Here we go. All right. So, well, you already told us about things that are coming up. We're scratching 25, yeah?
Sure. You just decided. Awkward pause.
You know how bad we are in a situation where I'm the adult and I make decisions? That's horrible. All right, so I want to give you about 30 seconds to plug your Kickstarter, which we've been doing throughout the whole show, and I want to make sure that you hit the $10,000 mark. I want you to be well over 200% funded because it's a quality book. The artwork is solid. You're an awesome dude. I want this to happen, so plug yourself.
So you want a fun comic that just goes through all of the common superhero tropes, whether it's, inexplicable villains doing things, smashing through things, robbing banks, whatever, right? You name a comic book trope, it's probably in this book. If it's not in the first issue, it's in the second or third issue. So stick around for the ride. But it's a buddy hero, multiversal adventure in the vein of something that maybe Grant Morrison would write, but with a lot less seriousness about it. If you took a Blue Beetle and Booster Gold adventure and threw it into the multiverse, there's your book. And by the way, Trash Panda. I'm like, who doesn't love Trash Panda? So he's such a fun character. So there you go. That's there's your probably 25-second.
And dear listeners, I back this book. I have a lot of faith in this book. The artwork is phenomenal. He posted 9 pages? 9 pages of the interior art.
I don't know.
Looks amazing. Bunch of add-ons, everything you could possibly want for a Kickstarter experience. It's there. I back it down. I give it a 10 out of 10. And then, I don't know, maybe later on we'll do a review once I get it in my cold dead hands here, which would be awesome. Maybe bring you back on, which would be sweet. And I can, if it sucks, I can just totally just berate you on camera. No, I'm just kidding. I would never do that. Maybe.
Okay. So if we do a panel on comic creation, now we've got Nick, and we can bring you back as well. And so we've got that. We're going to share that in the link to the Kickstarter in the show notes. And Nick is such a believer. He said we had to air 2 episodes tomorrow just so there's time for this to get around before your Kickstarter closes. Because
you can send my hate mail to ciscafortacos@gmail.com.
Okay, so on that happy note,
was that not an email? Because you sent it to me. I wrote it down right here. It's right here.
Very, very much. While Nick's going to go figure out what's going through his head, can you tell us if, in case you have other comics out that they're like, okay, I get it. I don't want to wait though for the Kickstarter, where other work that you have done can be purchased?
Yeah, WatchGuard is available on Comixology as well, which is now by Amazon. It's also available on drivethrurpg.com or drivethrcomics.com, which is affiliate or sister site. It's also, I'm trying to think where else is available. Oh, and Indie Planet. But it's actually cheaper if you get it as an add-on on my Kickstarter. So, so go add that onto here. Also, the WatchGuard source book. It is also an add-on for the Kickstarter. But if you'd rather just go ahead and buy it on Amazon or Kindle, it is available there. The WatchGuard source book does not contain Spider Squirrel. There's your caveat. So he shows up as a digital separate add-on later. So. This book was published 7 years ago, so it's got, again, a good swath of my characters in my universe kind of right there, and we'll build off of what's in here in Spider Squirrel and subsequent spinoffs.
Okay. And can you tell us, the listeners, the viewers, how they can find you on the wild, wild interwebs?
Sure. You can follow me a couple different ways. If you care more about me as an athlete, I don't update this page very much, but you can look for the Charlie McElvy, the Spider Squirrel Ninja on Facebook. Otherwise, you can follow. The best way to follow is go to facebook.com/Zion with an X, XION Studios. And I tend to cross post from my WatchGuard Facebook page, Spider Squirrel, and various other properties who may or may not have their own independent Facebook pages. I do tend to interact on the Spider Squirrel one mostly as Spider Squirrel. So if I say something really stupid or wildly offensive, it's him talking, not me. So
that's a good defense. So you can follow us on our website at anchor.fm/Blasters Tech and Tech Blades. I forgot that you don't have to put the www in front of everything anymore. Anchor.fm /Blasters Tech and Tech Blades. On Twitter at twitter.com/SF_fantasy_show. Sierra Foxtrot _fantasy_show. You can email us at blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Send the hate mail to Cisca at blastersandbladespodcast.com. Our Blasters and Blades Facebook group where all the shenanigans happen and inappropriate memes are shared. It's facebook.com/Blasters and Blades podcast. You can support the show over on Anchor FM, much like you can on a Patreon type site where you can pledge monthly. You can do a one-time donation at buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. But for the podcast in the show notes, so I know to distribute the funds to my intrepid co-hosts so we can keep them properly lubricated and intoxicated while I'm your sober driver. Yes. All right, Doc. Bring us home.
JR is Uber.
Thank you for this time with us. For the finally free Nick Garber, J.R. Handley, who's tortured, and our most athletic guest ever, I'm Cisca. This was the Blasters and Blades podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time. We'll indulge our love of torturing JR, nerd culture, cheesy jokes, things that go boom, and ADHD.
And making Walt mad.
Oh, yeah. Love you, Grandpa.
Love you, Walt.
Love you, Walt. Good looking out.